great to have everybody on the line, and thanks everybody for tuning in the last couple weeks. Format's a little different this week. I'd just like to introduce two of the people that have made this really special over the last few weeks. Is two of my closest and oldest friends, probably for 30 plus years. I'd first like to introduce the anchor of the show and one of my oldest friends, as I said, Dean Brown. Dean's been the voice of Ajax since he was a young child, because it's a town of about 6, so he was very, very huge back in the day. Yeah, he was huge in Ajax, and also a man who needs no introduction in the squash world, but a man I'll introduce anyway, the guy I toured with for many years, since we were about 10 years old, all over the world, and former number 10 in the world, and overall great guy, but even better squash player than he is a guy, because he's not that great of a guy. It's more I'm saying that because of the telecast. Yeah, there was a little bit of a pause there. So I'd like to introduce to everywhere, I'd like to introduce to the world, Graham Riding, because, but before I let these guys take over the show and really bring you into what we've been doing over the last couple weeks, I'd like to bring in the man himself, the man that where all of this started with, the two of us in quarantine on the couch. I'd like to introduce my partner and my prize student. You should go. You should have to
go get the crown. Sorry.
Before I have to introduce him. He wants me to introduce him as the king of hardball. So it's been a brutal week for me. Let's just start off by saying that. Let me introduce the painful king of hardball, Mr. Diego Elias.
Hey,
soon to be king of softball, if he keeps doing the training we've been doing lately. So say hi.
Yeah, hey everyone. Nice to see you guys again. I think we all had a lot of fun in the past 2 weeks, and now because this old guy can't really move anymore, we decided to do this show and keep you guys entertained.
Yeah, I think more than the entertainment value, I think there might be an opportunity to learn a little bit about squash, about hardball, about the inner workings of our lives, which are quite interesting, if I may say so myself.
Intricate
and interesting. So before we get into all of that, let me turn it over to the anchor of the show. And the man who's been keeping this running, Mr. Dean Brown. So Dean, take it away, buddy.
Jonathan, thank you for including me in this. Graham and I have had a blast doing this, and it's been a lot of fun, but it's been some great squash too. So first, Johnny, how is the body? I won $20 off Graham. I knew you were going to come up with an injury at some point. So Graham, you can get that to me when you want.
I sent it. I sent
dbrown@archetype.com. Okay. Get that over?
Yeah, I sent it for sure. I sent it. Yeah.
Jonathan, how is the calf? How's the body?
It was pretty much a foregone conclusion that I was going to get injured. I shouldn't have been playing at my age against somebody so young and malleable and flexible. But I'm just. It was always going to happen. Unfortunately, right towards the end there, I popped a muscle on my calf, but not. I thought it was a cramp, but it was a little more serious than that. It hasn't come around, but hopefully in the coming weeks it'll come back quickly. I've always been a decent healer, and my competition is not that stiff, to be honest, in my mind. So even if I'm 50%, I should be able to come and take that ground back.
Because I heard there were several injuries. I heard there was a calf injury, an ankle injury, a wrist injury, and a shoulder injury. So, of the four, which is the one holding you back?
I'd say wrist and calf are equally as serious. The other two are non-existent actually, because
those are kind of just backup injuries.
That's more internet chatter, if you will.
Things get on that www worldwide net, and things can get a bit crazy, right, Jonathan?
The World Web is a wild place. You're right.
Hey, Graham, I'll turn to you, Graham. Diego, how's Diego doing?
Yeah, Diego, I'd love to know just your relationship with Jonathan through this 2 weeks of of fierce competition, yet you're living together. Have you guys grown closer together, or have your worlds been split apart a little bit, just given Super Squash Saturday and the demands emotionally on both of you?
Well, I think I've been enjoying this week way more than the one before. I was doing everything in the house the first week, like I said before. I was doing his laundry, I was cooking, I was doing everything, and now, yeah, I've been enjoying it way more. He's been doing everything I say, just like everything. So yeah, it's been fun. It's been way more fun than the first week.
And in the contract, guys, so Diego, you've won. Does Jonathan have to do everything you say until the next match? Like, is there any sort of a time limit?
Oh, there's a 1 week time limit. This is where
there's no limit. There's no time limit.
You're lackey?
This is where it ends. This is where it ends. It's a 1 week. He doesn't get a bonus week because I'm injured. No,
I thought it would have been for life,
today.
no?
For life.
Is that in the contract, though? Or is that just your assumption, Jonathan? Like,
I thought it was forever.
You know, it's an oral contract. Do you know any good lawyers?
You might want to get your lawyer to revisit that. And Diego, the shirt that you're wearing, just so our fans know, like, was that actually cleaned, laundered, and folded by Jonathan?
Yeah, he did everything, of course.
I did fold. I am a strong folder. It started when I was young in the clubs. I used to fold towels at the clubs.
We lost you, buddy. You can't hear you, bud.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, so I became a great folder in my younger years working in the clubs. I worked at the Richmond Squash Club, and I folded towels tirelessly.
You had a pretty good towel selling business too, a resale business too at the time.
Exactly. I did a towel reselling business. I was selling them off the back of the truck. The club went missing, like the club towels went missing. But I became independently wealthy from selling towels out of the back of the club.
Right.
So I got that going for me, which is nice.
Which is very nice. So I'd like to get into the squash, guys. I mean, it was pretty cool watching hardball again. And let's talk about the first match, which was epic in all proportions. It was a 14-12 in the fifth, barn burner. Power, the veteran, came out on top. Diego, much to your dismay, I know you were devastated, particularly when you had to put that Burger King crown on his head. But let's just talk about that first match and Power. How did you keep him off? How did you keep him off?
Well, you know, it was pretty touch and go. There was a few match balls for Diego's, and with the hard ball, you don't want to leave anything to the last point because the ball can run away on you so quickly. But you know, fortunately, it was all with me that day, and you know, the sports gods were shining down on me, and I got to enjoy my week at the top, one more week at the top, because up until then, I was the self-proclaimed hardball champion of the world for probably a good 15 years. Since hardball died. Really, I decided to call myself the best hardball player in the world.
Well, there was
nobody objected. Nobody objected. It was weird because nobody really cared.
Yeah, I thought there would have been a Ned Edwards or a Rob Dinnerman or a John Nimitz come out of the woodwork to challenge, but the guys were all pretty silent on this.
You know what? I went down and played the U.S. Hardball Championships when I was still, or I just maybe retired from the softball. It was like the last time they ever had it in Philadelphia. To my knowledge, and I played all of those random guys that you just mentioned, and they were close to my age, so it was quite. And I was similar to Diego. They were close to my age now, so it was a walk in the park.
And Jonathan, remember that event in Greenwich that they used to have a hardball singles event alongside the softball event and the doubles event. Was that one of the last actual official pro hardball events that you would have played?
Yeah, that was probably the last hardball event I ever played. Singles.
I can't hear you.
It was probably the last hardball singles event that I ever played, or ever was played. All the top hardball players at the time were still playing. There was Mark Talbot. I played Mark Talbot in that tournament, if I recall. I think
you did too. I think you and I played doubles together in that.
I think we did, Dean. I think we did play doubles together, and I played Greg Zaff, who went on to found the Squash Busters shortly thereafter. It was sort of the beginning of all of that when he was starting Squash Busters, and he was talking to people that were at the table about this new initiative that he had about bringing urban squash and people that wouldn't ordinarily get a chance to play squash in the inner city and exposing them to squash and education, and he really sort of had a passion for that. And I played him in the first round, and I trounced him and told him to get on with your good doing with all of the people, and he took my advice. He stopped squash, stopped hardball, and
so
he's done a lot of good.
Jonathan, so is it fair to say that
that I raised that $100 million?
Well, I was just going to say, the success of urban squash across North America,
the world. Let's go to the world.
Is it fair to say that you are probably responsible for that?
I would say largely responsible, but not entirely responsible. We'll just give the credit to Greg because he put in the work.
Yep. No. Can we hear you now?
We're having trouble. Trevor's got there's a few issues with the audio. But
you guys can hear me now? Yeah.
We can.
No, everything's
lost you for a second.
Trevor does a lot of great work in the back of the van there. He's really been stepping up. Not a lot of credit has been given to all the people behind the scenes, and I want to just take this opportunity now, right from the get-go, to thank not only Trev and the van, who's really pulled this together, and he's the tech guy. Diego and I are relatively handy, but Trev is the guy that's really pulling this together in the back. And then we have Sergio from Colombia, who's just done a tremendous job helping us with the graphics. We've had the Spanish commentators that have come in, Esteban and Andreas, who have been phenomenal. We've had Charlie. Charlie's just been remarkable at pulling things together. So we have guys really from all over the world that have been calling in, that have been helping out and doing this all remotely during quarantine. And it's just amazing. This modern technology that we can all stay so connected during this.
And let's not forget Jeff Lurie's awesome theme song.
Jeff Lurie, that came in out of nowhere. How did you like that? Why don't we give that one more time? Let's run that one more time. I like this. This happened yesterday. This happened yesterday. Let's see if we can get Trev in the van. Let's see if we can get Trev in the van to bring it back in.
Jeff Lurie.
Listen for the flute, everybody.
He throws in a little Jethro Tull flute towards the end.
Make sure you give me a signal when it's done. I can't see it, Dean.
I can't hear it either.
Now they're together answering your questions, bro.
Okay, well, we're gonna have to enjoy it ourselves after because I don't hear it right now, Trevor. But it's a great little, it's a catchy little tune. Kind of got a bit of a Dukes of Hazzard feel to it, Jonathan.
70s sort of sitcom. I'm thinking like Jack Tripper or
Three's Company.
It's a great one. Yeah, I think that. I don't know if anybody's old enough to remember that show, but WKRP in Cincinnati, maybe?
You got it. It's a good one.
That's a good one. Anyhow, guys, I'll turn it back to you now that Jeff's given his props. We have Trevor in the van, who's been amazing. Esteban, Andreas, and Sergio and Charlie. Those have been the main guys behind the scenes. But not only the guys that help me behind the scenes, but we've had one of the greatest contributors of all, the man really behind the scenes, where Diego and I stay, live, train, play sports, get better. The man really behind everything, Mr. Mitch Goldhar, who's extended us this opportunity not only to get Diego as good as he can at squash and become hopefully one day the best in the world in a real sport called softball singles. But not just the hardball champion. I'd like to give a huge thank you and a huge sort of chapeau, so to speak, to Mr. Mitch Goldhar. He's the founder of Smart Centers and the owner of Penguin Pickup, and it's a phenomenal business that he's grown himself from scratch and really introduced Diego and I to this world, this much larger world, a much bigger world, which is his world, and it's been incredible that we've been able to be a part of that, and I'd just like to extend a huge thank you to him. But turn it back over to you guys, Dean, Graham. I'm sure you got lots of questions around the squash.
Well, we do, and it might be nice actually if he would do it. You know who should be wearing that crown when this day's over is Mr. Mitch Goldhar. We might have to crown Mitch as the champ of this whole thing. Now, Graham and I had a few of conversations. I'm going to turn it to Graham on these brutal-looking high black socks, Jonathan, that you chose to wear in front of a global audience. We to be quite frank with you, we did not like it. We thought you looked quite ridiculous wearing them. But Graham, why don't I turn to you? You have your own thoughts on these things.
Well, I just wanted to know, there's a few questions we got basically from fans and sort of inbound requests. One of them was like, did you actually pick those up at the Frankfurt airport? The other one was, is there any science behind them? And the last question was just, were those actually laundered and cleaned, or are those something that you just sort of wear every day and it's just part of your DNA?
Well, there's a lot of questions
to answer, but they are. Let's start by saying that they're performance socks, so to speak. I've been struggling with a little bit of a calf issue, so they were to sort of hide the tape and sort of what ended up failing me in the end, which was the calf. But it was more functional than fashion. I'd like to say
That's for sure. That's for sure, Jonathan.
It functioned very well the first week. It functioned pretty well the second week until right at the end. I mean, no excuses made. It was right at the end. The match was nearly over when the calf finally went. But it was a huge fashion statement, and I became very, very popular in some of the South American countries where the Germans migrated to, and I was really focused. After the Second World War, Argentina, Chile, even Guatemala, all of them were calling me and thanking me really for paying homage to their culture, and I like to be culturally sensitive when I do these things. It's just my nature. It's just my nature. Okay. So,
well, Jonathan, we're sorry we asked. Graham, I think we should turn this to Diego now. And Diego, can you hear me, Diego?
Yeah.
Diego, I would like you, if you don't mind, I'd like you to come much closer to the camera. I'd like you to fill your. Okay, I want you to come right up to the camera, and I want you to look into the camera because this is for you. This is not for us. This is for you. I want you to say 3 times into that camera, "I am the World Hardball Squash Champion." I want you to say it. Say it.
I am the World Hardball Squash Champion.
Do it one more time. You got to say it 3 times. Let it sink in.
Yeah. I am the World Hardball Squash Champion.
And last time, and feel it.
I am the World Hardball Squash Champion.
And that's it. And that's what Super Squash Saturday is all about, guys. It's about that victory. It's about Diego becoming the World Squash Champion. And Diego, how have you been received? How is this championship? You've won lots of major events. The Pan Am's obviously in your hometown. But how has this been received in Peru? I mean, is it all over the papers? Are you getting called for television interviews?
Yeah.
What's going on over there?
I think this is one of the biggest wins of my career. I've been having a lot of interviews back home. This is one of the only sports that are played live right now, and winning this is really big for me. Beating a next world number 1, not anymore a world hardball champion, was really good. Taking the crown was amazing, and I think it was really big for me and for my whole country.
Well, and just so you know, go ahead, Graham.
And it's true. It's been painful watching him do interviews every day about beating me. I'm not joking. Like TV, Instagram, like newspapers. He's got a full page in the newspaper. It's
awesome.
killing me. killing me.
Well, couldn't happen to a
That is
better
great.
guy.
Oh my God!
And
Just sitting
Diego,
there.
Diego, your father has been a big part of your helping you sort of come through as a junior, and he's been a big part of the coaching angle and the work that you guys did. Did you call your father after you beat Jonathan last week? Were there any tears shed when you guys finally connected on the phone and talked about your world championship?
Yeah, he was the first person I called. It was like, I don't know if you guys saw the documentary, and Jonathan, when he called his dad after winning the World Softball Championship.
Yeah.
It was the same thing. They were
Same
both
thing.
crying, and
And it really is the same thing. It really is the same thing.
Oh God!
Yeah. Yeah.
Painful. Yeah, it was very emotional for me to have to sit there and watch them.
Well, it's good to hear. I mean,
Dean, there was one thing that I thought would be maybe fun to do with Diego. We could kind of do a word association where I would throw something out, and Diego, you would just come back with one word, just the first word that you're thinking about, just so our fans can sort of get a feel for, like, what we're emotionally where you're at and mentally where you're at. Diego, are you up for it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Diego,
I'm
word
nervous.
answers, please. The first one I'm going to go with is Super Squash Saturday.
Fun.
You are ranked number 6 in the world.
Proud.
You are the best squash player ever from South America.
Oh, I already used proud, but yeah, again.
I think that was 9 words, but
Happy.
there's no rules here. Jonathan
Maybe
Power
a
is a squash player.
thesaurus.
Jonathan Power is a squash player.
Amazing.
Jonathan Power as a coach.
Great.
okay. I've got a few too here.
Now ask me as a person.
Well, Jonathan Power's headband.
Old school.
The women of North
No.
the women of North America.
Diego, who wins, you or me in my prime?
Oh,
That's a tough one. I think me.
Yeah. That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
there we go. So what we'd love to do, guys, is take you guys and we could take you through this some of these replays. Trevor, can we
Am I going to be able to watch that on the?
Can we get the first replay, Trevor, of it was I believe if memory serves me right, it was at 9 minutes and 55 seconds in the first match. Just going off the top of my head.
Memory serves me right.
I believe it was around 9 minutes and 55 seconds. Graham, maybe you can take us through this, Graham.
Yeah, well, here we are in the first game. I'm trying to remember what happens here. There's a bit of a... okay, here it is. Diego's about to serve. Jonathan, this is a question for you. It looks like you know exactly what he's about to do. Here's the serve. You respond quick, and there's a winner. Did you actually know what Diego was about to do? Was there something in his eye, his footwork? Like, Jonathan, how did you know the ball was coming in front of you at that speed?
That's because he's been telling me to serve hard, and then it was the opposite. He's been coaching me so he can win.
For sure, I played. There was some gamesmanship there, but the anticipation was there. It wasn't so much premeditated. It's just you see little signs when you get to this level of experience. When you've been playing squash for 35 years, maybe more than that, you start to see little hints of what the player is going to do. His shoulders dropped. I saw his shoulders drop. I saw the step in. I knew he was going hard.
Just a slight move of the
in.
foot. Just a slight quarter-inch move.
These subtle moves, I mean, obviously the mobility is not what it used to be, so I have to use my anticipation, my guile, so to speak. And there.
Yes, and there. Very nice.
And there. So that was nice. Thanks for bringing that up, guys.
Yeah.
Well, there you have all the fans out there. The shoulder drop is what Jonathan picked up on. And, you just can't teach that stuff. That's just
it's just a lot of hours on a squash court. Let's just put it that way.
Trevor,
there's no escaping it.
Trevor, can we go to about, I think it was around 17-minute mark, maybe 17 and a half minutes. There was when Power had a bit of an issue with one of the calls, tried to argue something was up that clearly was not. Graham, do you want to take us through that here?
Sure. I think it's the first game, and it's a great rally. So let's enjoy the rally. All the shots, 4-corner squash, offense, defense, great court movement. We're seeing it all here. Game ball. And I believe it's coming up very shortly. Jonathan on offense. Through the legs. Can't teach that at home.
There was some grace between the legs this entire match, particularly by Diego. And chopped a few winners
so quickly.
This is like a minute-long rally.
Jeez, what a rally!
And here,
and right there.
Well, you hammered that ball into the tin, Jonathan. You absolutely hammered it into the tin. Yet your instinct
is to go. It's up
right away. Arms up.
Right away. I saw an opportunity there, with you guys not having audio, and being able to the ball is moving so fast. It's close to 200 miles an hour. So when the ball's moving that quickly, my body language can sell the referee pretty much anything. I knew I hit the tin. Head turns, tin, then realized I can still pull this back. I can still make this my point. So then I go for the arms raised, like the strong two-handed fist pump, which I rarely do if I ever hit a good shot. So it was.
So for the referees out there, that's a dead giveaway.
That's a dead giveaway. The two-handed fist pump is a dead giveaway for a lie. That's a lie.
Bit of an oversell.
And Jonathan, it just supports that your motto that I mentioned to the fans: if you're not cheating, you're just not trying out there. So
it was something that was taught to me at a very young age. Playing hardball, it was a much more ruthless game in North America. You were always hitting the guy with the ball. It was a lot more acceptable to play to win. And if you're cheating, you're not trying. Was the motto. It was not a great example for young children. Unfortunately, I was a young child brought up in that culture. So it's not really my fault.
No, and nothing is, Jonathan. Nothing is.
Certainly not.
And is it fair to say? Is it fair to say? It's not a great example for the children, but for our older viewers, the club members who are perhaps in their 50s and 60s, it's a great example of what they could possibly bring into their games and try to move them forward.
Even their lives. Like when you're just hanging on by the skin of your teeth to life, and you're at that age. You need the little wins, right? So when you're in your 50s and 60s, you haven't got much left. So you got to hold on to those little wins right there. So it's almost more important to cheat at that age.
It's a great point.
You haven't.
It's a great point. And a great segue into Jonathan Power's. Yeah, I mean, it's a great segue into Jonathan Power's life coaching, which will be released in the near future. You can spend 15, 20 minutes with Jonathan, and he can give you such sage advice. So let's just move again to one more before we bring in the Spanish crew into the picture and get some questions going. We've got just a few more things. I'd like to go to match ball, and we focused on the first match, Diego, just because the second was such a beating that we couldn't really find replays that were sufficient. So sorry, we know that you beat him the second match, but we will. Let's go to match ball on the first match. And Jonathan, I want to turn to you when this goes on. I want you to emotionally take us through how this felt, keeping the crown. So if we see here,
so
this is match ball 13-12 in the fifth. Jonathan?
So I hammer it straight down the wall, a little bit of an overhit, stay low on that one, got the nick. Diego pulled it back. Using my left foot a lot, just trying not to get that rotation. Diego doesn't
look at that.
Get there. There's the fist pump. Learn that from actually David Nalbandian, the Argentinian tennis player from way back in the 2000s. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but
Certainly do. Great player.
Absolutely.
great,
Absolutely.
just a great
Quick cross
great
court
fist
there.
pump right there. And then from there, low to high is how you want to really execute the fist pump.
Low to high, yes. Absolutely.
Look at that. Still enjoys the win more now than maybe ever.
When you compare that one to your 98 win in the World Championships in Qatar, is it as good, Jonathan, or more perhaps, given your later on in your life?
I think the build-up was probably more special this time, but the 20 years leading up to me winning the World Championships really wasn't the same type of build-up as, say, like a 1 week afterthought for Super Squash Saturday. But a win's a win for sure.
Win's a win. And before we go, Diego, how did you enjoy the hardball? How do you like the game, and what were your thoughts on the whole thing?
I think it was really good. It was something we were thinking a lot with Jonathan for a few months. For the last few months, we were trying to start playing a bit more. He thought it was gonna help my game, and then we came up with this idea. So I really like it. I think I'm gonna keep playing it. I think it's gonna help my game a lot.
Yeah, it's really important to be serious for a second, like to get the racket head speed, to get lower to the ball,
to practice your quick reactions, to understand, staying down on the ball and that first step speed. So when you want to pick up the pace of your game and shorten your swing and do things as the game at the very top level, the softball is played at such a fast speed that you need to be able to train ways for your eye to see the ball at that sort of speed. And it was used as a training tool, and then we were doing it, and it was pretty competitive, so we decided to turn it in when we were stuck in the house, to turn it into a bit of a thing for people to watch, because at least it's something we're close at.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know that we've got some Spanish commentators, the Spanish boys coming on. I mean, Graham and I mentioned you didn't know that both of us were fluent in Spanish, but I mean, it was fine. They ended up being great guys, and they did a good job. So
Dean, let's not make this awkward, Dean. Like that.
Okay,
that ship is sailed.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
They brought in some other commentators. It's done.
Okay.
It's done.
Okay.
So
I'm good.
drop
I'm good,
it.
Graham.
Drop it.
No, but honestly, guys, why don't you, if you could do the introductions there, and we can bring the guys in.
I like to let Diego do the introductions. I mean, I've known both of these guys for a very long time, but I think Diego is very close to them, being that he's grown up at every tournament. I think we're going to come in. Are we coming in one at a time, or are we going to come in both at the same time? So we have Andreas or Esteban. We have okay.
Yeah, we wanna invite now Esteban to join us. He's a big legend in South American squash. So we decided to choose him to help us commentate in Spanish, and I think he did a great job. And he's gonna join us now, and we're gonna talk about the matches and squash in general.
Great.
Hello guys, nice to see you again.
You
Dean,
too.
Graham,
Welcome,
especially the commentators and then the players. So nice to see you again. So I got a couple of questions also. As I've seen Graham, if you spare me, Jonathan and Diego, I would like to ask Graham a few questions too. Like one word
Great.
answer,
One word answer.
Yeah. Just 2 or 3 questions, like for example, I want to ask him one word answer, okay? Sorry, one word answer. South American girls.
Pretty.
Okay.
Cramping on Diego there.
Okay. Rio de Janeiro nightlife.
Late.
Okay. Just couple of just to get to know you a little bit better, you know. Okay, so thank you. So, Jonathan, Diego,
what about Porsche Carrera? That's a little.
That was my
American joke.
That was the highlight of my hair history. That was my Porsche Carrera day.
Porsche Carrera.
The hair used to sweep up, and all the guys in South America used to call him Porsche Carrera because
the swoop.
His hair had a spoiler. It used to come
like a spoiler, like a headband,
Porsche, like a 911.
A headband, yes, and the hair will come up here behind like a Porsche Carrera spoiler.
And as aerodynamic as it can come.
But the funny bit was, that was my nickname, but I didn't know that was my nickname for about a month into the tour. It was a 6-week tour. It was like week 4 I found out my nickname was Porsche Carrera.
And you thought it was because of her speed, right?
Yeah.
You thought you were.
I thought they thought I was awesome. Apparently,
it's when you started calling yourself that, Graham. They really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
That's great. So I want to ask you a few questions, Jonathan, about hardball. I remember when in the first few Pan American Championships, and we players from softball had to play guys coming from hardball, like Mark Talbot or the Mexican guys. They were just retrieval, basically. And I don't know if because it was hard for them to adapt for the shorter rallies from hardball to softball or not, but they were pretty much retrieval players. But you were still very creative, and you liked especially new balls. Remember the old balls before the 20,000? They were a little bit smaller and harder. Remember that? And you could really feel the difference between a new ball and after 2 games it will become much softer. So what was the difference between you and those guys that they just couldn't adapt and they were just retrieval? Can you comment on that?
I think it's difficult because the swing in hardball is so much shorter and it's much less of a follow through. So they never learned and still to this day, if you watch Mexican players play or certain South American players, they never understood the value of the follow through in the swing. And so all of those guys sort of had small, good technique swings, but they just wouldn't extend the racket through the ball, so they never got the penetration on their length, which never allowed them to really set up to use their shots or to have any control of the tee. They may spend most of their time hitting the ball and it not penetrating through the court and stopping at the service line or getting volleyed. And they spent most of their time on the run, and most of it was because they never learned the value of a nice, long, heavy follow-through. Where my swing was small, but the length of it was long. So I learned a few tricks. Don't forget, I grew up with softball and hardball together. So I didn't just play hardball. I played I played 10 times more softball than I played hardball. I just played hardball also because it was a way to make money, to be honest, and it was another title for the ladies. But really,
and they are keeping track.
They respond to the junior hardball championships. I mean, anyhow, but to be honest, I was more of a softball player, but I had a nice tight swing from the hardball. So I think that was the difference between me and those guys. Why I adapted a little quicker is really because I played more.
Something I saw on your swing, especially on the backhand, was the fact that from the moment of the impact on the ball, you really try to like push from there, right? And I've seen other guys that trained with Jahangir at the time also do that. Like Cyber Boot used to do that. A player from Canada
Very
also.
much, yeah.
And I know that you also had a few hours with Jahangir and Ramad. Is there a coincidence, or it was a little bit of that?
I lived with Jahangir and Ramad for 8 weeks when I was 12 years old in the house. So that was like the pivotal point of my career where I spent 6 hours a day with those guys doing those drills and hitting so many balls, literally from noon every day to 6 p.m., just hitting balls. So I developed a good, nice long follow through and heaviness to my stroke from that and from the Pakistani teachings. And they have a great follow through, and they have a great understanding of releasing that racket past the impact of the ball. That 6 inches, that 1 foot after you hit the ball is the weight of the shot, and it was what really drives the ball through the court a little longer. So if you practice lengthening your follow through, you'll see it. I mean, we can certainly go on court, and Diego can show you a couple things. I mean, I would show it if I could swing the racket right now. I'm struggling a little bit, but feel free to get Diego to maybe demo some of that.
Yeah, we can do that, and also with a lot of work. Focus on the core to do that. That's what I remember from you and guys like also like Graham or Sabir, even he's older than you guys. I'm not so sure. I mean, how are you? How old are you? Like 54 or something?
Nice. Well, I move like that, but on the inside, I'd be closer to 104, but on the outside, I'm only 45.
Okay,
and mentally 15.
Dog years. That's dog years. Dog years.
Diego, I know you from a very, very young age. I mean, you were really like a pain in the, just asking for pictures and bandanas and autograph and grips and everything you can get from any player. I remember you from those days. And I remember you carrying like a paddle for Peruvian fronton, tennis racket, badminton racket, and a squash racket in your bag. How important do you think it was for your development when you specialize in squash? How important do you think that was to carry those things in your bag?
Yeah, I grew up in a club with all the sports. I had tennis, squash, like ping pong. Fronton is a Peruvian game, and I would play sometimes my dad would leave me at the club at 8 a.m. and pick me up at 8 p.m. So I had to do everything I can at the club. I was playing all the sports. I was having fun doing everything. So I think one of the things that I'm very happy is that I got to play all the sports. My dad never pushed me to focus on one sport when I was younger, and I think that really helped me because that way I found that squash was the best sport for me and the one I loved. And yeah, when I was really young, I used to have all those rackets in my bag. Even when I go to tournaments like South America junior tournaments, I would still take my tennis racket, my ping pong, everything I had everything in my bag.
Okay, nice. And also another question I've seen, I remember there was a turning point in Graham's career, one of the commentators here, when he came down to South America, that once he started going out, he kind of smoothed his move around the court also. Did he have to do something with Colombian salsa or something like that?
Is this a question for Diego or me?
No, you, Graham, and also Diego.
Right. South America was good for my game. There's no question. It was good for my soul. It was good for my development as a person. I learned a lot down in South America. It was some of my favorite memories. So I did, I don't know, probably 3 tours down there, and they were excellent. I met all you guys, and you guys were so hospitable, and we had so much fun on the court and off the court. So, I missed those tours, that's for sure.
We should do that. The Masters South American Tour again. We should do that. Let's do that. Let's keep that on the agenda, okay?
The Masters South American Tour. I love that.
Many people will pay to do that again.
That's just creepy. That's just creepy.
Carrera! Where's Carrera? He's back! He's back!
Carrera!
Carrera's back!
I gotta grow my hair out.
Okay, so we should keep doing these English questions or in Spanish, as I see also the president of the Colombian Squash Federation joining us.
Yeah, I think you can bring in a little bit of Spanish if you want to the telecast. So maybe Diego's going to step on court here, and I think you should get him to show you maybe the difference of get the red one right there.
Yes, that would be nice.
And get him to show you the difference of the hard ball and the softball. Like, why don't we take a hard ball and a softball and hit a simple drive and then watch the difference.
What I would like you to show is just the ball in your fingers, because many people from South America have no idea of how hard a hard ball is actually.
Right.
If you put it on the camera and squeeze it. Yeah, and squeeze it.
Bring it to the camera and squeeze the two balls so you can see the difference.
Para la gente en Sudamérica, lo que le estamos pidiendo es que aprieten la pelota de hardball y la de softball para que vean la diferencia que hay. Diego, si nos comentas en español ahí un poquito.
Esta es la pelota de squash de normal, pelota blanca, y la pelota dura es esta, no se puede ni aplastar.
Yeah.
You can do it as hard as you can.
Yeah. I mean, I can squeeze it, but not many.
Can you do it on your head, on your forehead? Can you show us on your forehead?
John, you need to rip it in half again.
No, that was impressive. I don't know if you guys watch that replay over and over again. I'm sure.
Yeah, many times.
The way I just tore through it, and I mean, probably right before you went to bed every night.
So, Jonathan, can you walk us through the shortest swing and just do a few pauses so I can translate to Spanish?
Yeah. So let's show the swing. Unfortunately, I can't really show you myself because my wrist is really bad right now.
Bueno, nos van a mostrar un poquito la diferencia entre el swing para softball y para hardball, para bola dura, y le pedí a Jonathan que haga unos comentarios y unas pausas para ir traduciendo.
Don't confuse everybody. So, no, the hard ball, he wants me to show him the swing. So the swing for the hard ball is much more the elbow stays in. So you don't have time to lift this arm or lift the elbow. So the number one thing is that the elbow stays in and the racket lays back, not up, right? So you got the racket back, but the elbow is in.
Ok, para el swing de hardball dice que el punto clave número uno es tener el codo adentro porque no te da el tiempo para levantarlo y despegarlo. Ok.
Right, and then so think of it, I don't know, as if you're a kid and you're learning to skip a rock on the water. You know when you skip a rock
como niño en el agua cuando uno trata de hacer patito con una piedra. Okay.
Yeah, and then on the backhand, very similar. The elbow is in, very close to the body, and the racket head drops. So you need to see how the racket head drops here, and then from here, release the racket. So everything's in tight, but you see my follow-through goes right through the shot, and then it's online for about this long. It's like a golf swing, a tennis swing, a squash swing, is like when it's online, keeping it through the whole hitting zone, right? So
and Jonathan, fair to say too that the racket faces a lot flatter with the hard ball swing.
No, you keep the racket face open all the time. So you don't want to flatten it out because if you're going to make more mistakes, the flatter you hit it, the more mistakes. So with the hard ball, it's very chippy. So you want to have the racket face open and you want to be chipping the ball to keep that ball down.
Entonces,
maybe top spin.
Yeah.
If you can.
Okay. Dice Jonathan que lo que tienen que tener en cuenta es el codo sigue pegado al cuerpo, en el revés también, la cabeza de la raqueta arriba, luego baja y atraviesa la pelota como en un swing de tenis o de golf, tratando de mantener una línea en la zona de impacto.
Yeah, so
okay.
I think you're going to see the difference of the two balls. So Diego, warm that ball up a little bit, like do some figure eight volleys or something. Go in the middle and do some figure eight.
Some Jahangir volleys maybe, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think we'll see how he can do. He's not warmed up, but he's pretty good. Pretty good at that. He'll warm up the ball. Watch the nice shoulder turn on the backhand, how Diego just turns the shoulder and rips through it.
Como Diego gira los hombros y a través de la pelota, atraviesa la pelota.
And one of the greatest things about Diego's swing is that he really uses a lot of hand at the end of the swing. So now
usa mucha mano al final de su swing, Diego. Es una de las cosas muy buenas que tiene Diego.
So he's going to show you how he hits the softball as hard as he can. Go to the front and show everybody how hard. Watch the ball. Watch how it travels right down the middle. Right down
pelota
the
dura
middle.
y le va a pegar lo más duro que puede.
Now I'm going to show you the hard ball. That was the softball. Now the hard
Esa es la
ball.
pelota blanca, la pelota, esa es la dura.
And even
Can
if
you
you
step
watch
back
the
a little bit? Sorry, Jonathan. Can you step back a little bit? Step back and move
around
to
the tee.
right a little bit.
Okay, step back there.
To the right, to the right, to the right, and to the right. Yeah, that's better. Again.
Okay. So let's do it again. The softball.
La pelota blanda.
Now the hard ball. Watch the bounce. So the speed it's traveling is probably close to double. And not only is it traveling at twice the speed, the ball skips and stays down. So you have to have quick feet and get much lower.
Sí, dice la pelota viaja al doble de velocidad y no solamente eso, sino que patina un poco y se mantiene abajo. Entonces hay que tener los pies muy rápidos.
Jonathan, have you made any adjustments to Diego's swing since you've been working with him?
Yes, certainly. We've done a lot of work on technique. Yeah, we do. That's one of the main things we've been working on since January.
And what would those things be that you've made adjustments to in terms of his swing?
It's sort of something that we like to keep tight to our vest, but let's just say it's improved tremendously over the last few months. But there's a lot of sort of, I guess, secret sauce that we have in the swing, and the ability to sort of do different things with the same looking swing, create a lot more deception, create a lot more penetration on the length, create a lot more sharpness on the drop shot. So there's a lot that's been happening there. And I'm more going back to the hardball and the softball. If you think of it as both of it as squash, right? They're both games of squash. The hardball was only invented because it was too cold in Canada in the 1800s to play with the softball. The ball wouldn't go anywhere. So they created just a harder ball so that people could enjoy squash in the 1800s a little bit more. So that's where it came from. So they're both types of squash. So if you compared it to tennis, it would be like the difference between clay court tennis in Roland Garros to Wimbledon. The swing is different. It's a lot lower. Like it would be like grass court. Hardball is like grass court, where the ball skips and you got to get down low, and it's a lot more slice and a lot more sort of zip. And when you have an open shot, it rarely comes back, right? So,
más o menos hay que comparar lo que es el hardball y el softball es con lo que es Wimbledon y Roland Garros, donde en el pasto de Wimbledon uno tiene que agacharse porque la pelota patina, sobre todo en los días, en años anteriores, donde la cancha de Wimbledon era realmente más dura, entonces la pelota deslizaba más. Esa sería la comparación entre hardball y softball.
Great. Well, I don't know if you guys want to see any more. I mean, certainly maybe in future weeks or in different times we can set up more of a coaching and demonstration type of situation. Maybe bring different squash pros in from around the world. But right now, I just wanted to give everybody an idea of the difference between the hardball and the softball and the type of swing that's required for it. So
Excellent. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias, señor Jonathan.
Muchas gracias para ti for all your hard work. Buen trabajo, huh? I'm very impressed with all that you've done with squash, and that you've committed so much, not just to helping us out in these last few weeks, but you've committed so much to squash in South America and squash around the world. And it's been much appreciated, and hopefully appreciated at large by the community. So Esteban, thank you so much for joining us, and maybe we'll do this again soon. Hopefully the body will be back.
Excellent.
And I think
last question for Diego. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll do two questions in Spanish for Diego. Diego. Sumamente Diego, ¿me escuchas?
¿Puedes repetir que no se escuchó?
Hola Diego, ¿me escuchas? Sí, que mencionaste que tu padre nunca te apuró en competir necesariamente, pero yo lo conozco y te he dado realmente un ejemplo de un espíritu de lucha, un ejemplo de lo que es trabajar duro, no solamente dentro de la cancha como jugador, sino también como profesional, una persona muy disciplinada. Entonces, me gustaría que nos comentes un poquitito en eso, porque a veces como padres cometemos el error de presionarlos con la palabra, ¿no? Y contarnos un poquito de tu experiencia en ese caso, de lo que te decía, pero lo que te mostraba tu padre.
Sí, mi papá siempre fue como lo conocen en toda Sudamérica, o sea, por más que no haya tenido de repente el mejor squash, el más talentoso, porque él comenzó muy tarde jugando squash, siempre tuvo esa garra, por eso le dicen el tigre en todo el squash en Sudamérica. Y desde que yo era muy chico, él me enseñó eso, desde que yo tengo 8 o 9 años ya me sacaba a correr, entrenábamos, y no porque él me obligaba, sino que yo veía que él salía a correr con todos los chicos y yo me unía y me decía al comienzo no, y de ahí le decía, pero por favor, y me sacaba a correr y no es que me esperaba y corría conmigo despacito, que no me dejaba atrás y si me pierdo, me pierdo. Ahí corríamos con Andrés, Alonso, todo lo del squash peruano y me dejaban atrás sin tener nada de pena y eso me enseñó mucho a tratar de... Yo siempre fui el más chico en el squash, entonces eso me enseñó a perseguirlos, a tratar de seguir mejorando y ya después cuando yo me quise dedicar profesionalmente, el consejo de mi papá que fue, o sea, ha sido el mejor consejo que me han dado, que es, suena tonto porque es obvio, pero él me lo repitió varias veces y es que si quieres hacerlo y quieres dedicarte a eso, tienes que dar tu 100% siempre y eso siempre lo tengo en mente y nada, ahora creo que he subido mucho mi nivel y estoy jugando mejor, pero igual no he llegado ni cerca de lo que quiero lograr y quiero que cuando todo esto termine y comiencen los torneos otra vez poder llegar a ser número 1 y ganar el mundial.
Bueno, pero para eso estás trabajando en conjunto con Jonathan, que te va a dar ese plus sumado a la base que te dio tu padre. Y when we invite Sergio from Colombia and Andres from Peru, what I asked Diego was, what about the example? He mentioned that his father never pushed him when he was younger, but his father gave him an example to be a fighter, not only on court, but also off court, like very disciplined, very, very high work ethic. And he mentioned that's true, that his father never pushed him to train, but he saw his father working hard both on and off court, and that was a very, very good example and very important for his career. Bueno, Andrés,
that's a good lesson out there
muy
for
buenos
everybody.
días. Yeah. And that was a good basement for
a parent. You set the example by your actions, not necessarily by your words. You know, not every kid listens to what their parents say, but they'll watch what they do. And Diego and myself, I think both watched every day the way our parents behaved in the way that they just did it with action and not with words. So
and Jonathan, the last question for you. I mean, before we put on Sergio and Andres, and how important it is for you that base work and that base he has, that foundation he has for you to fine tune and get into the highest level. How important is that for you as coach?
Yeah, I mean it's so great because when you have somebody that has that natural work ability to adapt and ability to change like so easily and wants to work hard and wants to get better, because nothing happens unless somebody wants to do it from the inside. And when somebody really wants to receive the information, then I'm able to give the information, right? It's just when are you ready to receive it and how are you able to digest it? Like what type of a learner are you? How do you communicate with that person? And we communicate in very similar ways, and so it's certainly easy for me to communicate those points to him.
Yeah, but your digestion is not the same, though, right? According to Graham mentioned about your travel, experiences, your digestion is not the same as Diego's, is it?
No, I wouldn't say the way we digest things, but we're certainly very adaptable to our environment. So yeah, I mean, I think because we played a lot of sports growing up, a lot of different sports, and a lot of understanding how sports work and mechanics work, that we can change things very quickly. You know what I mean? Like with swings and mentality.
I was talking more about plain food. Okay.
Oh, the plain.
But
Oh,
anyway,
the digestion.
yeah.
No,
So,
no, the digestion.
Sergio,
Stuff,
Sergio,
I forgot
bienvenido.
about that.
Disculpa la demora, estábamos aquí un poco entretenidos. Sergio, un gusto. Lo conoces muy bien también a Diego, al igual que a Andrés. Así que, por favor, adelante. Gracias por unirse.
Hola, ¿cómo están? ¿Cómo están todos? How are you guys?
Yeah. Nice to see you, Sergio.
How's it going?
Good. Thanks for coming on. And I mean, we want to start by thanking Sergio. Has done so many graphics for us, and he's done so much for squash also in South America. He's the president of the Colombian Squash Federation, and just a big supporter of squash. And Sergio, Diego and I have been so thankful with your help and your effort, not only with Super Squash Saturdays, but beyond that, with all the things that you do for squash. So thank you and welcome to the show.
No, thank you guys. I just have an invoice of $2,000 that you haven't paid me, but it's okay. I'll wait. I'll wait.
Have you heard
I love to help.
Checks in the mail. Checks in the mail.
The dog ate it.
I love to help. I love to help.
All those just for $2,000. Beautiful.
All right. Okay. I just have two questions because today is Saturday. My birthday is on Monday, and today is my it's gonna be my birthday party in quarantine. So.
Okay.
My question. Yeah. My first question is to Jonathan. Is okay. You guys seem to be the perfect. Do you guys meet on Tinder, or how was it? I mean, how did you guys meet?
Diego and I?
Yeah. How did we start?
We met, I mean, probably when he was 14 or 15 years old, when he was coming up to play the Canadian juniors and US juniors. He came with his father to my academy. At that time, I had just retired and started an academy for kids and of all kinds and all ages. And Diego came in, and we played together. And he was a supremely talented junior, and we had a talk with his father and Diego and I, and we sort of made a long-term plan for developing him into a professional squash player into the future. And he started really focusing on that from a very young age. So we stayed in contact, and we made lots of time to play together and learn together. And so we've been hanging out and gave him his first local in a PSA tournament. I got him into his first PSA tournament to get those points, right? So yeah, it was easy. He came up, and we met, and we've been working together in some form ever since with his father, Diego, and I as a team. The three of us, his dad is so hands-on and so capable of everything, but sometimes it's nice to have somebody in your corner who's maybe done what you want to do and can give you some different ideas. But really, most of the work is done by his father, and then I sort of add a little special sauce here and there, and it's been a great relationship, the three of us,
¿Te parece, Sergio, si hacemos una pequeña traducción rápida? Le preguntó Sergio cómo se conocieron, si fue en Tinder o en algún torneo. Y bueno, finalmente Jonathan cuenta que se conocieron probablemente con 14, 15 años cuando venía a jugar torneos juniors a Canadá. Y bueno, hicieron un pequeño acuerdo a largo plazo de desarrollo, donde el trabajo grueso lo hace José Manuel Elías, su padre, y Jonathan agrega y ayuda. Y también siempre es bueno tener, si bien toda la capacidad que tiene José Manuel, es bueno tener en la esquina a alguien que ha hecho o ha recorrido el camino que uno quiere que recorra Y bueno, eso es un poquito lo que ha sucedido. Andrés, ¿cómo estás? Bienvenido tú también. ¿Qué nos puedes decir o preguntar a Diego, que sí conoce desde que ha nacido literalmente?
¿Qué tal?
Sí, se escucha abajo, si puedes hablar más alto.
Habla fuerte.
Ya, sí.
Como hombre, por favor.
Para entrar, pero ahorita me estoy escuchando hasta el vecino, así que...
Yes, speak like a man, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Barely. Very faint.
Barely.
Very faint.
Barely.
But you look good.
Great. That's all we need, man.
That's it.
I'll just scream a little bit louder.
Okay, that's good. Yep.
All right, good. Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me here. It's been a pleasure, actually, and great of you guys to put on a show. I think you guys mentioned before all the people involved, and I think this is actually a great opportunity to put some great people together, actually. So yeah, thank you for inviting me, being part of this.
Well, thank you, Andreas. Like, we have to introduce you a little bit too, because Andreas was the former Peruvian #1 before Diego came to that position. But you've played between his father and Diego. Andreas was the champion of Peru, and you played top squash at University of Rochester, and have been a part of the Peruvian national team. And I've known you for a little while, but certainly you've been around Diego from the beginning. So it's just great what you contributed to Super Squash Saturday and all the stuff you've done, I'm sure, with Diego all of these years. It's been great.
Thank you. So I had a couple of questions. The games were very, very contagious. So much fun to watch, actually, and of course, in a small court with that hard ball, you guys are moving fast around yourselves, and sometimes it can a little bit feisty, and some people in Latin America were wondering. This question's for Diego, of course. So Diego, who do you think would win in a fight between you and Jonathan?
Claro, porque era para mamar las gallas como si eran marichas, pero...
He might send people to beat me up, but this guy sleeps with his stuffed animal. But he knows a Sicario or two, but that's about it.
That might do it, though.
that might do it.
Seriously, though, I think you guys have a great relationship, and I don't know. I think Sarah mentioned you meet up in Tinder. I'm not sure I heard that well.
It's called Grindr. Grindr.
.org, isn't it?
Yeah, .org. Yeah, .org.
So, you guys spending some time together. You guys have become like really good friends and know each other well. So just to make it a bit interesting, and the questions for both of you, if you guys can say 2 things about the other guy that you like, and 2 things that annoy you about the other guy.
Oh, Diego, only 2 things.
Get out the list.
I think we lost Andres.
I'll start because I think I have a feeling his will be a lot better than mine. The one thing I do appreciate around the house is Diego has a great choice in TV shows. I've become very familiar with a lot of Spanish TV shows that I like a lot. So I have to say that, and the other thing that I like is that he can do sports and play games all the time, like just like me. Like, there's nothing more fun than being able to like turn everything in life into a competition. So that for sure, 2 things that I like. 2 things that I dislike is his I guess ability to put away like things in the kitchen is worse than me. If anybody, it is
Impossible.
unbelievable. It's unfathomable that I'm doing more cleaning than somebody. Like it's unfathomable. And the fact that he keeps calling her Maria is annoying.
Andrés,
But
traducí un poquito para la gente en Latinoamérica lo que te preguntas y lo que te respondes, por favor.
and then and Diego can say Diego's turn to have some fun because I've been
in the thing that I like is almost the same. Like we can play any sport. We can always have fun when we hang out. Everything is a competition. Like we're walking and who walks faster, like to the corner.
We went for a bike ride the other day that turned into like a nasty bike ride. It was terrible. It was embarrassing.
Yeah. He was supposed to show me the city, and
his head was down the whole time, just pedaling.
All of a sudden, your eyes lock, and you know that it's game on.
Yeah, we didn't say one word. Straight to the race.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah. I have 1,000 stories like that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it's really fun. That's part of like for kids is like having fun all day. There's never like a boring moment. Like everything is. We started doing before he got injured. Like in one of the many places he got injured, we started doing pull-ups and the same. We were doing like pull-ups every day, like as many as we can. We're not very good, but
we are not very good.
How many pull-ups? How many pull-ups are you guys doing?
He did 50 yesterday. He did 50.
50. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good, but I'm not quite there yet. I had to lay off because of the wrist.
Yeah, but I always leave the kitchen like not very clean, but then he leaves his clothes everywhere. Like I have to do all the laundry. I have to take everything to the laundry. It's annoying.
Well, I hope not last week, Diego.
Oh my
I still have to do it because everything's a disaster. So.
The guy's got a maid and a chef, and he's complaining about me leaving my clothes everywhere. Okay.
So,
But,
Sergio.
No,
Sergio.
Yes. I'm here.
You've been also to a few tournaments with Diego. So, what do you think was his best and worst quality in those juniors tournaments? ¿Cuál crees que fue, Sergio, la mejor y la peor, vamos a decir, virtud de Diego en todos los torneos juniors que lo has visto jugar? A ver, Diego, si puedes confirmar eso.
Okay, being serious, I think his movement is absolutely fantastic. I think that's the best I have ever seen in a junior player. When I saw you in a few tournaments, remember, Diego, when we were in Namibia and a few, other tournaments, and I think that's the best quality. And what was the other part? What was the other part, Esteban?
No, ¿cuáles eran sus mayores o peores virtudes que has visto en él?
Ah, okay. And the worst one, okay, no, we cannot tell it here in Skype. Sorry. Not possible.
We can turn that into a good thing then. We can turn that also into a good thing.
I have my last question to Diego. And is Diego, I mean, do you think that hardball is a game for lazy guys with a little overweight, or is just for a smart racket guys?
Yeah, well, we were trying to make a game work. This guy can't move anymore, so we were looking for games, and we ended up in this. Like, of course, you need the best racket skills, and he has the best one ever in squash for me, and he can still move a little bit. So we made it really, really competitive. And yeah, I think hardball is, well, people think that you don't have to move that much in hardball, but it's actually like a really fast game. you can maybe be like one step away from the ball, but the ball comes like super fast. Like if you don't do that step like too quick, you don't see it. Like it's really fast, and I think Jonathan has like really fast feet, and that's what counts in hardball more than like moving all the way to the front or like normal squash.
And guys, what do we have to look forward to? Is it going to become super backgammon Saturday, or what's the next evolution of Super Squash Saturday?
Well, I mean,
I'd like to see a fight. I'd like to see a fight.
That might happen.
One hand fight. One hand fight only. One hand.
Maybe we'll get
fight.
Those two sumo costumes, those big sumo costumes.
I think Diego was too softball with Jonathan.
Softball.
Yeah, he was softball. It should be for hard
The
ball.
first 6 rallies will be good. Yeah, no, it doesn't last long. It doesn't last long. It's not the same. But no, I think there's lots to look forward to. I mean, right away you see what we have here. We have a squash court. We have the studio. We can do pretty much anything. I mean, there's coaches around the world. There's people that want to know more about squash. We have all kinds of friends around the world that play squash, or some of the greatest players of all time, and we can bring people in. When the quarantine lifts, we can have people come in and do different exhibitions, and we have an opportunity here to just have some fun and show squash to the people, and we'll keep it going. So we'll there's lots to look forward to. This is not done by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, the final question.
Yeah, my final question. This is the last one. Trust me.
Perfect.
Tell me about your racket. What was your best racket, Jonathan? What was your best racket in your career? Tell me about that, because I've seen it. But tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Right here. This is the one. This was the one that actually changed. This was the one I loved the most, for sure. I mean, tell the story. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This actually the story of when Dunlop made these. So this racket got remade by a whole bunch of other companies, and the shape got redone, but the original mold was made by Dunlop. And Shabana was staying at my house, and we were training. And at the time, we were number 1 and 2 in the world. So I had Amr Shabana, and it sounds weird that we were training together, but I'd known the guy since we were young kids, and we spent a lot of time playing, and we were close friends. So Dunlop had sent about 10 rackets, and they had no paint on them, nothing, right? Like just like that. And then I got first choice, he got second choice. And we went through all the 10 rackets that they sent, and we both took this racket. His was a slightly different. And the Dunlop guys were like, what? We got it all wrong. Basically, these were the ones that were for Walmart, and all the ones that they poured all their technology and everything into were the ones that neither one of us wanted, right? So they spent all this money on R&D, and these were like these two like
those are the $69.99.
At best, at full retail, $69, and they ended up charging $250 for a racket. That was certainly not worth it. It's the one we liked. It's the one we liked the best.
That's amazing.
And we both chose those rackets.
Good margins for them. Good job.
Good margins for them, but then it just shows you how much companies are and how much marketing is involved in selling you a product, right?
Yeah.
When the product. It's just a tool. The product was the other stuff that we did on court.
The old Head 160G, that one beats out the Head 160G, Jonathan.
Oh, that was a nice racket. You know what I liked about the Head 160G is it had a square grip.
Yeah.
So the head rackets have a square grip where everything else is rounded, so you always knew exactly where the racket face was. So you could feel the edges on the racket. So it was I really liked that racket too. Thanks for bringing
and did you choose
fun memory.
Did you choose those colors?
No, I left that to the graphic designers of Dunlop at the time. I went on later to start choosing my colors and stuff like that, but no, this one was chosen by them.
In Walmart.
And it is the Walmart blue. But
Sam Walton chose those covers.
So guys, we have not much time left, but I just like before everybody starts to take off, and I know everybody's got things to do on a Saturday. And once again, a huge thank you, and maybe Trev in the van could put some of the moments that we have up there on the screen, and throw up the theme song and fade to black, so to speak. But
fade to black, baby.
Do we have one more caller in there, or that's it? No, that's it. Okay. Full screen, maybe.
Well, John, thanks, man. It's a pleasure being a part of this. So I look forward to hopefully continuing some more stuff.
Great, guys. I can't thank you enough. Thanks for joining, all of you. You've been great. You made this happen. You made this work. So thanks so much.
All right.
As we go here, this is Diego winning the Pan Am Championships, and this one I think was one of my finer moments.
I played it cross court. He's played it high onto my backhand, and I've sort of just held it and played it, sort of sending him the wrong way a little bit, and it's just hit the crack on the side wall and just sort of rolled out as a outright winner.
Yeah. That was definitely the moment where all the demons
but his
left.
own demons.
Briefly.
Briefly. Believe me, if that didn't happen, it could have got a lot worse, Dean. Well, guys, thanks for joining.
All right, guys.
Squawk Saturday.
Thank you.
See you well.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
See
you,
soon.
guys. See you soon. Bye.
Let's hear the jingle.
JP's coach Diego since he was a teen. Who'd have thought they'd be stuck in quarantine? Now they're together answering your questions, bro. It's the JP and Diego show. JP's from Canada, Diego Peru. They're bringing Super Saturday Squash to you.